current is ripping through the high tide in the mangrove hammocks of Biscayne Bay, and the sky is a million tiny Vikings charging at me in a war horde. They're hitting me and falling in the ocean, one fat sea-bound teardrop at a time, smashing earth from Valhalla itself in the form of cold, wet rain. I'm in a vicious storm. 12-foot crashes threatening me with shark-faced boulders of coral rock and limestone. Rocks that have killed unlucky sailors with impunity for centuries, leaving blood in their waves and a feast for creatures on the hunt. Actually, a couple hundred yards separate me from one of the most expensive zip codes in Miami-Dade County, but I'm in the wild, savage elements of ancient Florida, at a tidal inlet through a mangrove hammock in Biscayne Bay, surrounded by the seagrass flats, sandbars, a natural shoal, and the last and largest public mangrove preserve in the region, which used to be the dominant feature of South Florida. The natural South Florida, that is. According to the National Park Service, Biscayne Bay is a shallow estuary. It is a place where fresh water from the mainland mixes with salt water from the sea. The bay serves as a nursery for marine life. This is the dichotomy underlying Greater Miami. Fresh and salt water in the brackish system, they form their nexus. The interflow between the Gulf of Mexico, the Atlantic Ocean, and the Everglades. The underwater aquifer, a holy system of bedrock sharing natural springs and rainwater from Pensacola to Key West. And for the Greater Miami metropolitan area, from Lake Okeechobee and Palm Beach County and Florida Bay to the south. The National Ocean Service says estuaries are some of the most productive ecosystems in the world. Many animal species rely on estuaries for food and as places to nest and breed. Of the 32 largest cities in the world, 22 are located on estuaries. Not surprisingly, human activities have led to a decline in the health of estuaries, making them one of the most threatened ecosystems on Earth. In the summer, it rains pretty much every day in Florida. And if you can't swim, don't worry. The water right here is only waist to ankle deep. Sometimes even only toe deep. Sometimes it's just sand under your foot. My kayak floats across the surface like a car hydroplane sliding on a rain-slick highway. Only there are no lanes and no speed limit. The ocean's tides are as unpredictable as all weather and can only be projected about a week in advance. Every 6 hours, the tide goes in or out, converting the sea level as it has for thousands and maybe millions and maybe tens of millions or even hundreds of millions of years. I don't know. There's a high tide, a low tide, and a slack tide. That's kind of like an in-betweener. You can see which way it's running by the current on top of the water and which way the seaweed is floating. You can feel it in the visceral acceleration of a motor-free watercraft, such as this kayak I'm on. I'm in an 8-foot sit-on-top kayak, perfect for carving through the narrow mangroves. It has scupper holes that drain any water over the top of the boat. To get here, I park for free at the Chapman Field Park Public Kayak Launch and row a half a mile to Hidden Lake and another half mile through a hidden mangrove trail to Biscayne Bay. Paddling against the current is like climbing up a roller coaster, and paddling with the current is like swing down. The tunnel offers a nutrient-rich system constantly flushing itself with water, fish, and the fish that eat them. And you can see it happening all in real time right here. The birds here are fish-killing virtuosos. Winged beasts with razor-sharp binoculars, polarized cornea, and the specialized hook, scoop, and dagger faces perfectly adapted to the salty marsh and wetlands. There are raptors with legs as long as I-95 and claws like Nosferatu, the famous vampire. Everything is technicolor. A magical illusion of diffracting waves that telegraph false breaks in illusory landscapes. Perception is filtered through humidity. Beams of light shooting odd angles through the trees. Soul-exposing fields of sunshine reflected like a mirror off the sea. And the ever-changing tides, recurring morphology over terrestrial reality. Sound travels over water with great speed and volume, further altering your perception. Pirates used to hide in these very mangroves and emerge from the shadows to wreck enemy ships for filthy lucre, rum, and gold. Dropping sails and creeping through the seagrass, one could tie off and remain obscured like any of the many predators throughout the chain of sea life here. To catch the Indians, the pre-Columbian Florida natives indigenous to Greater Miami built shell mounds and villages here. They ran with bobcats and swam with whales. They fished and hunted and feasted and partied right here. Evidence of their tradition and culture in the form of art and tools can still be found in these waters. Just look around. The magnetic draw of history suffuses the atmosphere. European explorers made landfall here, drank from natural freshwater springs ensconced in the porous limestone aquifer. The U.S. Army failed in multiple wars against the Miccosukee and Seminoles, who were tribes of Georgia and North Carolina Creek banded with Cherokee, African Americans, other outlaws of the bloodthirsty American government. Trade and travel between the modern-day nations, the Bahamas, Cuba, Haiti, and the Dominican Republic formed the Caribbean Silk Road of sorts. Even ancient Aztecs and Mayans crossed from the Gulf Coast edges to throw down in South Florida. In the 1800s, a Standard Oil billionaire with an eye for change decided to build a railroad, and that was the start of modern-day Miami. The poet named George Merrick inherited hundreds of acres of raw land from his father and decided to blast his profile into the coastline with dynamite and call it Carl Gables. A hungry dredge carved a Venetian-style museum of canals into 40 miles of premium waterfront. I'm here with the baby sharks, tree crabs, and so many tiny ocean creatures learning about life in their sea nursery. Here where the tides enclose a trillion different creatures and where larger bodies find impenetrable thickets of interlocking roots chaotically woven through the salty sea. As a mangrove hammock. The mangrove is the only saltwater tree on Earth, and the mud around it is a pungent funk of trapped carbon and vegetative death, bacteria, hydrogen sulfide, rotten egg smell, fish eggs hatching. One goes out, another comes in. 360 degrees of microorganisms feasting on the flesh of terra not so firma. As the creatures grow, they edge closer and closer to the outside of the hammock, eventually settling in territory below trees, walking roots, and either dying in the jaws of a predator or killing to appease their own endless gnawing hunger. Fishes, arthropods, mollusks, invertebrates, sharks, crabs, snails, crustaceans, mangrove snapperjack, pinfish, needlefish, grunts, typing puffers, and big, wily mangrove-loving snook. Manatees, a visual smorgasbord of the life aquatic. I make friends with a stingray. I got a moment of understanding with a pufferfish. I can tell it doesn't want to kill me because it doesn't expand itself into a neurotoxic balloon. Who will stop the rain? It's not a question. Here on surface level life, the golden star we spin around exerts a burning glow. That's the sun I'm talking about. The water is a window. The sandbar next to the seagrass. The denizens of these exotic climes operate at high speed, darting in zen-like flashes of direct impulse from sensory perceptions that we can't even imagine. They can feel our electromagnetic heartbeats and understand our tranquility or fear through minuscule vibrations. Traveling schoolfish with proto-meta collective consciousness throw their dice rolls for survival. Fish are smarter than we give them credit for, and we may be dumber than we think. A muscle-bound 5-foot tarpon flies past me like a running back. Polarize your lenses, wear a hat, and keep your neck cool. Laffy Taffy colored parrotfish eat algae and catch floating bits of coral in the current that they turn to sand through digestion and crap out for us to walk on. It's all here in the hammocks. Here I am with all of the Everglades. Birds as big as some tractor-trailers. Airboat snakes and the alligators. They don't kill you now, but they eat you later. If that is your fate, then you meet your maker. Reporting live, I'm a space invader. I am here right now, but I'll be gone later. I'm in too deep like a shallow hater. I'm a revenant like a revelator. Pedaling on a long and about trailer. You gotta be crazy to be out here. You gotta be out of your mind is what they would say. What are you doing? Man, what is going through your head? What are you doing out in the middle of the Everglades paddling around through this wild airboat trail like you think it's all good? But you know what I say to them? The natural environment is truly our home, and although I walk through anywhere I want in any city and in the world, I'm out here paddling in the Florida Everglades. I'm in WCA 3B, Water Conservation Area 3B. Out here where you could be free truly like people have done for millennia. For our space and time, people have used Florida as a land to run away to. Explorers from Europe who came here, they found people already here who had already been here. These are the ancient people encompassed by the tribes of the Calusa and the Tequesta and the Calusa. And they also intertraveled, intermarried, and interpartied with the people from the Caribbean islands who were defined by the basic all-encompassing tribal name of the Caribe. The Caribe is from Cuba, the Caribe is from the Bahamas, and from all the other islands, basically effectively the Caribbean basin, from Nicaragua to Puerto Rico to all the other places where people come from and to here all throughout time, history, and memorial. And the thing that we notice about here is that under each and every leaf, it could be something that could kill you. What? Yeah, that's real. I'm out here in the wild wilderness where you can't get a GPS signal, where you can't get a cellular signal. The 5G is not going to affect you because it doesn't reach here. But yeah, which is the most consistently managed piece of elemental property in the contiguous state of Florida. What is that? How is it that the water is managed here, and what does that even mean for us? There's a vast interconnected network of canals. There's a vast interconnected network of canals, channels, locks, levees, dams, areas of managementation. Where I'm paddling right now loosely defines the paradox of what it truly means to be a human in South Florida. This is the exact juxtaposition of human-managed elemental resource and complete and total wilderness. The Everglades. The Everglades? The River of Grass is so coined by Marjorie Stoneman Douglas. It's dominated by creatures great and small. Have you ever seen the Everglades hornet? That's a wasp with a stinger so big it looks like the back edge of a Chevy truck. Yeah, this area is so violent and deadly that death occurs here with reckless abandon on an acutely minute basis. So what is it that's drawing me here today, and how is it that I expect to survive and even just to be able to live to tell to show you this? Well, it's August of the year 2020. Nobody wants to be out in the sun in the Florida Everglades in the middle of the day. Everybody's hiding under the shade. So I feel relatively safe. 12, 13, and even 14-foot alligators and snakes in the area. There's been 25-foot snakes caught around here. And they're not even from around here, but they've come to be the kings, the apex of the predators in the area. Hey, people live out here. Mikasukis did it, Seminoles did it, Caribe did it, Calusa did it, Tequesta did it. Everybody did it. Even white people called Glades folk, the Glades men and women, the white pioneers of the South Florida as well. If you're crazy enough to come out here and give it a try, I'm not gonna lie, you might not die. I feel protected by the most dangerous element that there is, the sunlight. And that's why I'm able to paddle through here with seemingly reckless disregard for anything that may which kill me. I don't have a knife on me right now. I got a 2-foot Philippine machete blade in the trunk, but I forgot to bring it. So it is here that we see in the paradox of the juxtaposition of the built environment and the natural environment, where we see the subjugation of the natural environment to the will of humankind through engineering and various feats of locks, channels, dams, and other structures which control the flow of water across the entire region. There's this very mixture and this very paradoxical nature through the juxtaposition of fresh and the salt, the life and the death, the vegetative cycle, the prey and the predator, the small and the weak, the great and the strong, and how they interoperate with each other. Directly south of here is the federal park known as Everglades National Park. It's not exactly clean, but it's crystal clear. It's a Florida beauty. It's a Florida beauty that we live for and we strive for and we survive for. This is the land of the survivor. Without this very area that you see here, the existence of the city would simply not be possible. For in exactitude, Miami is actually under sea level. Everything west of downtown Miami was this, where we're storing water for the case of emergencies. That's what makes this a water conservation area. Here in this very place and land, you will see that nothing is what it seems. There could be a 40-foot alligator under here. We don't know. I myself have seen 12, 13, 14, and 15-foot alligators here, but an alligator bigger than a yellow school bus may very well be here, and I don't know. I could be flowing over its back right now. So what is nitrogen? What is phosphorus? If you go due west from West Palm Beach, you'll arrive at Lake Okeechobee, where everything south of it gets its drinking water. Some of the biggest agricultural impact points in the total South Florida ecosystem are the cow industry, the sugar industry, and the tomato industry. Every winter, a lot of the tomatoes that go around the United States are grown right here in South Florida in the area called Immokalee. Now, in the area of Palm Beach County, you're going to find a great statistical percentage of all the sugar that is grown from sugar cane and then refined into white pure cane sugar. That occurs in the Everglades area right there in Palm Beach County. On top of that, we got a lot of steaks and milk and cheese and different things like that come from the cow industry. You're going to find farmers that do things with chickens. People have tried to drill for oil. Dang, that's a big fish, boy. Water here is driven and controlled. The most uncontrolled element on earth is controlled. Everything is different and not really the same. So it's hard to say what's going to happen, but I can tell you what's happening now. This section of the Florida Everglades is so managed, planned, defined, divided, and conquistadored upon that it is both the exact example of the wilderness that it represents, as well as our need to build infrastructure for society in a modern sense. For what it represents is the vast freshwater environment which defines South Florida. Out here used to be all sawgrass. Do you know what sawgrass is? It's sharp. It's as sharp as a blade of a knife. It's sharp as a razor's edge. But it's a piece of grass with little hooks. If you look on the edge of it, when that blood drips, it'll drip amongst the dinosaurs. Life and death exist on a needle's thread here. And every day, every minute of every day, you're looking on with your head on a swivel to see that you aren't killed instantly. And right where we're paddling now, right where I'm paddling at right now, all this around here is cattail. Cattail? What's cattail? Cattail used to be here. Cattail used to be about as common as a real cattail. There was Florida panther here. There was bobcat here. The cattail reed is what dominates this landscape now. All this is cattail reed, millions of reeds. A reed is that thin, twig-like, stick-like structure that's up jumping. Phosphorus and nitrogen. Phosphorus and nitrogen have influxed the entire watery landscape of this area. Phosphorus and nitrogen are the chemicals that reign supreme alongside mercury and as they've been introduced. Listen, hey, without certain things happening, there would be no modern society. If we did not destroy one thing, we could not build another. Things that we did yesterday are affecting how we live tomorrow, and what we do today changes everything. Little river, baby. It's going down off of 79th Street. This is the real reporting live from the urban core. This is Little River, baby, off of 79th Street on US 1 Biscayne Boulevard, which goes all the way up the coastline of the United States. And I'm going to be running up under that vast concrete network today. Why? Because I'm off a Little River, off of 79th Street, a legendary location in urban core of Miami. This is the real city. This is the real city of Miami, where it meets the bay. This is the Biscayne Bay. This is the area known as Belle Meade. Belle Meade is a little island in the sun. It was man-made and it built here for people to have mansions out where they could party right on the edge of the ocean. The Biscayne Bay, where the pirates used to stay, where they ran rum all day through prohibition with no prohibitions. Okay, it's always a party over here. There's a very much a lively life of scene of here. There have been so many numerous clubs and so many numerous parties here. The truth of the matter that you must remember is that it goes back to the ancient times of the Calusa, the Tequesta, the Tecuesta, the Miccosukee, the Seminole. These are all the indigenous peoples that populated the area before it was ever so-called discovered by the European conquistadors, but was known about for thousands of years by people from the Bahamas, from Cuba, from all of the islands of the Caribbean basin, and even the places such as Nicaragua, where people did even float over on their boats. That means it's drawn a hardy level of people for all its history, and that's why you gotta be a real survivor to live here. The true meaning of survival in South Florida is how to get along with people, develop relationships that exist over time, and find a symbiotic relationship so that you can thrive. If all you want to do is be a predator and destroy, you won't make it, because there's always a bigger fish than you, okay? You gotta cooperate, and that's the true definition of living out here. For the Little River goes back through time all the way. It was even as important as the Miami River, the Oleta River, and other various channels of access. The Little River used to be a way for peoples to get back and forth from the Everglades to the trading posts and from the hunting grounds of the Biscayne Bay. The thing about the difference between the Everglades and the Biscayne Bay is salt water versus fresh water. And as you get closer to or farther from each one in between, they combine and they create what's called a brackish environment, where both elements of each distinct environment create a melange that is unmatched as far as diversity and ability to create relationships between seemingly disparate creatures, flora, fauna, and the built and natural environment. Little River goes all the way back. That's history. Little River is 79th Street. Little River goes through Liberty City. Little River goes through Hialeah. Little River hits the Okeechobee Trail. Little River goes all the way to the Everglades, and is these combination of environments which coexist and thrive upon each other's greatness, which create the beauty of the diversity that we see here today. Yo, Little River covers the industrial zone, the urban environment, the suburban environment entirely of the cities, and the ultimate wilderness of the Everglades. Go ahead and look at it on the map. Get geographic with it. You can track how it operates and what its meaning was. Little River is the environmental embodiment of structural racism and institution. Hold up. Hey, I don't want to lose you all getting political on here. Let's put it this way. Little River is blocked off to see where the water goes and how the people are able to get there. Between Little Haiti and El Portal, there's a structural building, a dam and a lock that determines where and how you're able to access it. El Portal is built on an ancient Indian burial ground. And at that point is where you're going to find the train tracks that say this side and that side. Guess who lives on that side? Iggy Pop. Guess who lives on that side? The guy who gardens his lawn. Put it that way. What communities are here and why does the water flow as it does? Little River has been blamed for a lot of the pollution that enters Biscayne Bay, and I wonder how it is that it ends up there because it is fully controlled. Every canal in Miami-Dade County is controlled in what water enters and exits its flow. So what does the railroad track symbolize to you? Do you think it should be that way? Why is the pollution running from Little River into the Biscayne Bay? And why does that pollution run through Little Haiti? Think about it. You think it's a mistake? Nah. It was done like that on purpose. And you could decide for yourself why you think of that and what it means to you. What's this? The blue whale was passing through on the day that I paddled the Little River. I seen the blue whale. The blue whale is a massive county-funded garbage pickup truck and train with a crane. It can't pick up the runoff that forms in a liquid form. There are 4 tides a day. Every 6 hours, the tide and the currents change. High and low tide are the water column at work. And upon the horizontal plane is where we find the current. Tides go up and down, and the current goes in and out horizontally. Now, what's that mean? 4 times a day, we're going to see the push and the pull of the water. It's the yin and the yang, and it happens 4 times a day. It's a mysterious occurrence. We know that between the relationship of the sun and the moon upon the water through their gravitational pull, that these daily phenomena occur, but yet they cannot even be projected more than a week in advance at best. And those projections are merely theories based on guesses, based on educated scientists who have hopefully expensive jobs to try to figure this out. Hey, there's a lot that goes into engineering and there's a lot that goes into politics, so you got to put 2 and 2 together. If you want to have a better environment for yourself, you got to be part of defining that environment, and the way that you're going to do that is to take over these jobs that have traditionally been held by people that may have been outsiders. Somebody might have moved here from New Hampshire, Connecticut, Rhode Island, New York, West Tuscaloosa, South Alabama, Missahumpka, Hopkalupki, some made-up place that don't even know nothing about here. So what the point of this entire documentary is to try to inform and to educate and to entertain, to try to give you something you can learn from that's not lame, that's really cool, and that you can see and draw your own conclusions from through critical thinking and analytical thought, that you can create a true theory of your own about what things mean. So that is what we find upon the Little River environment. Over here, who knows what they're doing today? They're building, and if I had my way, I would ask you to think about what is the role of pollution in the built environment, how it's channeled, and to what degree this is a reflection of the politics of the populace who may be in power. I'm shipping out of Coral Reef Park on Palmetto Bay sector of the suburban zone, built and constructed with a purpose through dynamite and dredging, through heavy metal and explosions, through nitroglycerin combustion and various aspects of construction. This channel was cut straight out of the bedrock, the limestone foundation, the oolitic rock which forms the aquifer. This is what it was drawn from and what it was created for. And this is called the C100. C100 is a C100, and that's the canal that drains out to the Biscayne Bay. The reason it was built in 1960 was as a drainage for floodlands. The 2 biggest high schools in Miami-Dade County are located in Kendall, so that can give you an idea of the density of the suburban population in an inverse reflection of the urban core, which dominates the popular consensus of what it is that is Miami. But I'm just here to tell you this is what it all used to be. The reason that this canal was built was to drain so that this place don't flood. In 1960, there was a major hurricane which came through and flooded the zone. And I found like old articles from the Miami Herald that said 3 weeks later after this 1960 hurricane of Hurricane Donna, there was a dairy farm over there on 97th Avenue where the cows up to 4 weeks later were still swimming. All the land that was once wet became dry so that people could do things there. But when the natural environment, it takes us back to reality. Another place that you can access the C-100 from is called Bill Sadowski Park. And that's, well, it is hot. I'm sitting in a hot car on a hot day. Hold up. Let me grab some AC. A lot of people that live here travel up to the city every day, and they run things like the government, the media, and all the various sectors of public policy and how it is shaped. But it's a pretty enclosed enclave. So, I mean, you make of that what you will. This canal was built through a process known as dredging. Every 5 feet, dynamite is strategically placed to blast open the rock face. That blasted rubble is picked up through the heavy metal machinery, and that dredge matter is used over other places, transported for building things like man-made islands. Can you believe that? Check it out. I'm gonna break it down to you. If you drop a shovel in the land in Miami, you're gonna hear rock almost immediately. There's no digging here, okay? There's barely any digging here. That rock is limestone. Think about Palmetto Bay. A lot of people here have money. A lot of people here have power. And a lot of people here have landscapers. Hey, this is a fertile place. As soon as you cut a blade of grass, it's almost already sprung up with a new one. But basically in Palmetto Bay, there's so much levels of landscaping that people are often using fertilizer and pesticide. What is the role of fertilizer and pesticide in the built environment, and how it affects the natural environment? How does it travel, and does it use the same systems of flow that the fresh water does to arrive at the ocean? The answer is yes. Biscayne Bay, they say, is changing from a seagrass-dominated environment into an algae-dominated environment. Algae-dominated environment, is that good? No. Algae blocks out the sun. Algae makes it so all the underwater flowers can't get photosynthesis through the sunlight. Sunlight is the most important aspect of life for underwater plant or flower. Seagrass is an underwater flower. It's a flowering plant. That means it's a plant that grows a flower. That means it buds and procreates. The seagrass meadows are over 1 million acres in the state of Florida. They've been greatly reduced. Greatly reduced how and why? Through pollution. Pollution, dirt. Dirty water, dirty dishes. Think about it like that, okay? You're going to do your dishes at your house, in your kitchen. You got dirty water, you're going to have dirty dishes. You got dirty water, you're going to have dirty fishes. You're going to have dirty animals. You're going to have dirty plankton. You're going to have dirty algae. Everything is going to be dirty, affected by the dirt that's flowing to it. It resonates through the ecosystem. Pesticide kills the things that you don't want. Fertilizer grows things that you do want. But these things with the rainfall, which occurs half the year, they should have been smart enough to figure it out. And the septic seepage from the septic tanks that undergird the pollution that flows into the groundwater, which becomes pollution in the ocean. Septic tanks are a pretty big feature of Florida, where you got a pipe coming out of your house that goes into a big metal tank that holds all the poo-poo and the pee-pee and everything that you flush down your toilet. Every so often, maybe 10 or 20 years or so, someone comes around in a big truck with a hose on it, and they vacuum all that caca out. And whatever you put down there is going to end up there. Whatever's in there. Hey, but guess what? The thing about it is that over decades and a century time, that water leaks. That dirty water leaks. That dirty water leaks into the ground. What we see in the suburban built environment is almost a deadly 7 venoms of destruction. Now, once again, whoo, get a little hit of that window air. Dang. Now you can see why people die in a hot car. I mean, that thing is deadly. Whoa. And we catch some cool air. Catch some cool air right there. Oh, it's starting to rain. Got a couple drops of the rain. All right, back to it, man. There is a perfect storm that occurs in the suburban zone, a perfect storm of disaster that flows into the bay, into the natural environment, thus decimating the seagrass that form the nursery of the sea and are vitally important to very many commercial species, in which we have to keep in mind if we are ever to care about the future of this existence upon which we have on Earth. Do you get what I'm saying now? Like, this ain't a joke, all right? The water flows from over here. If that makes sense to you, then it shouldn't make sense, because we shouldn't be doing things that shoot ourselves in the foot. Imagine going for a walk, and before you do that, you stab yourself in the foot with a sharp arrow. That's not going to help you walk, is it? That's really not going to help you get where you're going. As a matter of fact, that would be like nailing a shoe to your foot. before going and taking a long walk. Putting a nail through your foot to hammer that nail into your shoe is not going to be the best thing to do. It's not going to help you, and in the so-called long run, it's actually going to really negatively impact you. The other things that you got to know about the C-100 canal is that right where it meets the bay, there's a bridge. And this area was called Snowden's. It was Snowden's Country Store. Snowden's Country Store is one of the earliest features of commercial activity in Dade County, the great metropolis, the megalopolis known as Miami, the greater Miami area. Around this area, this is called Old Florida, Old Cracker, Florida. You might see Bahamians here, but you're also going to see a lot of weird, wild, wacky white people. There is a lot of weird, wacky, wild white people in Miami, and they come down here in the daytimes. They had to be some of the strangest, ruggedest, brave people over here, and they had to join forces and learn ways to work with the native people. Without the influence of the Bahamas and the native peoples of the Bahamas, the Bahamian Caribbean, and also the African Bahamians, that we learned how to even do any of the things that we needed to do in order to survive in this land. Without the Bahamian influence, there would be no agriculture, there would be no kunti, there would be no pineapple. Miami has always been a combination of different people from different places working together to create something greater. That includes the native indigenous people, that includes the Caribbean native people, that includes black Americans, that includes white Americans, that includes Latin Americans. Miami is the confluence of Caribbean America, Latin America, white America, and black America. A lot of black people walked here from Georgia, North Carolina, and Alabama, and South Carolina even Mississippi as far away as, and they contributed. And we find out this in the lands of South. What I want to mention about Palmetto Bay, they're shooting themselves in the foot. Wake up, rich people. Wake up, Palmetto Bay. What are you doing? I want to add to that I was a free-range baby. I got a bike at the age of 6 years old, and I was wild in the streets. I was catching the Metro bus and the Metro rail through all the corners, so I got a deep connection. Maybe not through familial history or genealogy or ancestry, but through my very own experience as youth and how I've grown up with it and seen it from the many different perspectives. True Miami-Dade County, right here on this old Cutler area, old Cutler Road, old Cutler influence of the First Amendment of the Bill of Rights that I'm here. And I thank you. Today we're reporting knife shipping out of Homestead, South Dade Marina, heading into Manatee Bay. This is Manatee Bay in Homestead, a traditionally seagrass-dominated ecosystem. Now the reason why? Obviously, there must be some tradition of manatees here. Woo! What's a manatee? A manatee is a mammal. It looks like a whale mixed with a dolphin, mixed with a turtle, mixed with an elephant, mixed with a sea elephant, mixed with a seal. We don't know what it is, why it is, how it is, where it is. All the time, always we know is that they are a friendly creature of the earth, completely, utterly harmless, and their greatest predators is humankind. Florida Bay is where the Everglades go south into. South of the Everglades is Florida Bay, the real and true Atlantis where the manatees are in the shallows. All right, so think about that and keep it moving. I'm going to keep my car out here. One quick second. The manatees, kind of like that, they're a litmus test for the health of the ocean and the bay environment. No manatees probably means no seagrass. No seagrass, no manatees. Imagine if you had a huge house with a giant front yard. And if in that front yard you had luscious grass which grew ever presently and abundantly for thousands, hundreds of thousands, and possibly even millions of years. It had thrived through a system that had created cooperation with all the aquatic environment, and it serves as a very bellwether of the health of the system of this environment. Manatees in the bay, in the ocean, you can find them all the way to the Everglades. Is that crazy or what? I mean, the manatees, they love to float around in the shallow water flats. Now imagine if that front lawn up to 95% of it disappeared and you were left with dirt. Now you got dirt. That's what it's like. That's what it's like right now in Manatee Bay, according to the scientists. So I had to go find out for myself. I had to go see what it's really like, what's going on, how's the health and the systems of the water. Can I go across the short key and check it out? Is there a private beach there like they say? What's up with the mangroves and what's the health of them? Who are the insects and what type of natural creatures may I encounter? Are there fish? Are there sharks? Yeah, I seen them there. They go and they congregate in different locations. A lot of time on the manatee, they'll survive being run over by boats and jet skis and whatever else. And you see the scars on their backs. And this friendly creature that eats nothing but a vegetarian diet The world is a salad bar for the manatee. A wild manatee pack. Bro, these are manatees. They're special. They're really cool and they're friendly, and we love them. But there's been times when they've been endangered. Endangered? Yeah, some people want to eat them. Some people want to cut them up, feed them to themselves, and people have done that. But they're called a sea cow, and they're really not good eating. You wouldn't want to. You wouldn't want to. You ain't gonna make a hamburger out of a manatee. You're not gonna make a manatee burger. It's not gonna be that good. Look at them. They smile. They come up about every couple minutes for air because they breathe air, they breathe oxygen, but they can stay underwater for up to 20 minutes. And though they move very slow, they also can be quite powerful. Luckily, though, here we are approached by a pod of three friendly manatees. Me. They took me in. They made me their friend. I'm their pal. We're all here under the eye of the Creator. Vikings that we have not even discovered the existence of, they came through here. Every people that had a boat that washed up on these shores, they came through here. This is Manatee Bay. Listen to me when I'm saying to you. It's beautiful out here, but it ain't gonna be like this for long, and you better get used to what comes next. And if you can't swim, you're gonna drown, because we gotta be sharks out here if we're gonna keep it moving in such a way as to make it through this life, all right? I'm telling you straight up, this is a documentary. I'm expressing my opinion through my observations and forming and creating a theory through critical and analytical thought. And everything I'm giving to you is not scientifically sound, all right? This is poetic truth. As you form your own opinion, because that's what's most important. But even more important than that, maybe to visit it yourself. You need to come and check it out. This is Homestead, Florida, historic Homestead. Come and check it out. It ain't dangerous even though it is. It's not going to kill you. It's going to make you live. And if it kills you, at least you'll die while you're alive. Because that's the way it is underneath these cloudy skies where these hurricanes and these waterspouts form, where all the thunderclaps and the lightning strikes, with the greatest fury and the vengeance and the anger of the wild environment, the wilds of Florida, the real land of the wetlands, the real land under the sea, the real and true Atlantis. What kind of fish are still out here? You're going to find a snapper, mangrove snapper, red drum, black drum, grouper. You can find sharks. You can find a bonnethead shark. You can find a hammerhead shark. You can find a nurse shark. You could even find a bull shark. They're aggressive. Most aggressive. The bull shark. That's the duality of life down here. For every point, a counterpoint. For every punch, an uppercut. For every uppercut, a sweep. Don't get swept up. Don't get swept up in that riptide. You can find a riptide in the Everglades or in the ocean or in the bay. So don't get carried away. 100 years ago from today, which right now we're living in 2020, was 1920, during which there was a land boom in Florida, largely fueled by advertisements placed in all assortment of newspapers on a regional, national, and hyper-local basis. News Bank. Reading now from an ancient piece of history, 1925. A $250 million building objective in Biscayne Bay section. The grandeur of Spain, which may be envisioned with uninterrupted view from all of its shoreline, all combined to bring the Biscayne Bay section a wealth of interest and value beyond all other Coral Gables property. The vision of the builder of Coral Gables was George E. Merrick, who so often in his past translated accomplished fact. See 5,000 homes soon to be constructed in the Biscayne Bay section, and always as heretofore, the Coral Gables Corporation will back his vision with its dollars and will put the full force of its earnings behind such a building objective. Whew, that's quite an objective. Since the beginning of Coral Gables, almost every dollar of receipts from sales, except actual selling and overhead expense, has gone back into the property either in the form of construction or development, and many millions of dollars in addition have been obtained from other sources and invested in a like manner. The profits of the business has been substantial, but until now they have been deferred, and not 1 cent of profit has ever been withdrawn for any purpose outside of Coral Gables. Within the next years, these profits will accumulate a large cash reserve for the Coral Gables Corporation, and it is the purpose of the corporation to devote the major part thereof to the accomplishment of Mr. Merrick's purpose, to see 5,000 homes constructed in the Biscayne Bay section. The stockholders of the Coral Gables Corporation know of no better investment for their earnings than the Coral Gables property. In their opinion, no other security which they might buy offers an equal opportunity of enhancement in value, plus the margin of safety assured by the actual building and construction and development already completed in Coral Gables. Simply on the basis of present sales and probable future sales and the existing ratio of receipts from sales, it is estimated that the earnings of the Coral Gables Corporation in the proportion in which they are to be devoted to this purpose as they are converted into cash, plus such sums as based on past experience can be reasonably expected to be available for construction from these insurance and mortgage companies, which have already made extensive similar advances on Coral Gables property, plus such other sums as will be invested of 5,000 homes. So that's a long, talk about a run-on sentence, but insurance and mortgage companies apparently were largely responsible for underwriting the debt. The architecture of these homes will be treated more carefully than ever before in Coral Gables. Under the supervision of Denman Fink, art director, Phineas E. Paste, supervising architect, and Paul Shalfin, consultant architect, constituting the architectural board of Coral Gables, about 20 architects of national repute have been selected to carry out this building program. More than 40 miles of waterfront boulevards tying up Coral Gables and its present broad avenues with every part of the great Miami Riviera development, the greatest of which will be Riviera Drive, beginning of the Miami Biltmore Casino, adjoining the heart of Millionaires Row at Coconut Grove, and continuing along the bay to the South Sea Isles of our Riviera development. The Keystone Tract that is wonderful waterfront development. The Keystone Tract that is wonderful waterfront development, greatest of all Miami's waterfront suburbs, has been made possible by the purchase of the Cocoa Plum Beach property of Charles and James Deering, which is the greatest unit of the entire waterfront development. Coral Gables would have the cooperation of the Deering and their participation in ownership and development of the great Cocoa Plum Beach estate. Coral Gables' new broader horizon opens up untold possibilities for the future. Even the brilliant record of attainments of the past few years are dwarfed in comparison. The addition of 5,000 acres, making 10,000 in all, provides a background that outdistances comparison. 6 miles of bayfront, 40 miles of water frontage, bay islands, the beautifying of the whole in a unified scheme of magnificent proportions. All of these will tax your imagination of what the future holds in Coral Gables. The picture is unrivaled in its transcendent beauty, and in Miami it is still made more complete because these wonderful developments carry with them the wonderful opportunities for investment. This splendid building objective, when attained, has for its aim for the future population of Coral Gables on approximately 1 lot in every 5 in the entire Biscayne section of an estimated value, when completed, of $250 million. Thank you very much. This is a promotional item that was listed in the newspaper back when there was a news business like that. You ever heard of Jennifer Lopez and A-Rod, Alex Rodriguez? Their names will ring throughout history for centuries, and this is where they have chosen to spend their millions. They got a house here. Diddy had a house here. Rosie O'Donnell had a house here. There's been former presidents, former dictators. There's been barons of industry. There's been people from the largest levels of inherited wealth in the history of the American life cycle. This is where rich people go to play and party. This is where the true big money goes to buy real estate. This is where people choose to live and be inspired. This is where great artists of the time of generations. There's been crime here. There's been death here. There's been destruction here. There's been military here. There's been fire here. There's been floods, and there's been planes, and there's been cocaine. These are built on the back of the things that make Miami what it is known today. Where we at today, where the stars align, where the money's at, where the riches dwell, where the treasure's at. This is Star Island. This is South Beach. This is purple, blue, green, emerald, diamond encrusted water, gold flakes, and the candy paint blue, baby. This is real natural and naturality. Everything here is built by humans. Everything here is what they used to call man-made, what we could call woman-made, we could call human-made. This was all built. This is all unnatural. This is artificial. These islands didn't exist naturally. They were built by humankind. They were built through the forces of construction. When canals are dredged and they are left with the rubble of the rocks that they create the canals with, this is what they go to create in some part. This is the land of popular culture. This is the land of unpopular culture. This is the coconut palm, imported and grown here. This is the great pineapple. This tropical life. Star Island is in your brain. It's in your mind. It's a state of mind. It's a state of fun and recreation. And guess what? It's in the publicly accessible waters of Biscayne Bay, just about 1,000 feet offshore from 14th Street on South Beach, just south of Flagler Monument Island. This is a place known worldwide. The funny irony of this place right here is you could dock your boat here and live here for free, right next to an artificial island where the richest people on earth live. At least some of them. They're right here. Al Capone had a place here. He used to party out down here too. A lot of people would travel here from South America, Central America, North America, Caribbean, Europe, Asia, Africa, every continent on earth. People come here to party as they've done for centuries, millennia. It's a good place to go swimming. There's plentiful fish to draw from, and these fish give you power. These fish give you the power to keep partying. And party is what you could do here. In the days of the rum runners and the pirates, they were here. The reef wreckers and the buccaneers, they were here. This is the party time. This is where it goes down. This is where we do what we do. This is where we go to have fun. This is where rich people put money in the earth and they go make themselves a little paradise. Just like a mangrove seed floating in the ocean is looking for a place to plant itself and create a whole new island. So are the rich people of the world like mangrove seeds floating around the earth looking for the perfect place to recreate and spend their big money. And then what they've done here is to create a star island. And let me tell you, it is a beautiful place. And despite all the decimation and depletion of the seagrass and all the various features of pollution that we've discussed here, including from the septic tank seepage, from nutrient runoff, from fertilizers and pesticides, from the agricultural zones and suburban zones that dump off from the different waterways that lead them here, including the groundwater, the underground water, the aquifer, and the little watery volcanoes that erupt under the ground of the ocean and find themselves here. Despite all that, this is a beautiful place, one of the most beautiful on earth. You could come out here, park for $10 at the marina and launch yourself out. Go have a look around on a little 8-foot piece of plastic that's floating in the ocean, powered by a $30 paddle that I put over hundreds of miles on, exploring this terrain and these environments and finding out what is really going on out here and creating this documentary so that you could see it for yourself and you could form your opinion, and I could pass on my life experience and what I see and appreciate in order to try to make some money off a documentary that if 100,000 people watch, hopefully I make $100,000, and if they don't, then whoever does see it, I hope that you enjoy it. Truly, get a boat, get a little kayak, man. Get a little kayak, man, and come check it out over here at Star Island. Some of the home sale prices here are $40 million, $30 million, $20 million, $10 million, $1 million, you're broke. If you're $1 million in the Star Island area, you're only $1 million there. Hey, check it out, Flagler Monument Island. This goes all the way to the beginnings. This year, 2020 signifies 100 years of Flagler Monument Island. This was a man-made island that was built in a perfect circle without a seawall that over time, through the force of hurricanes, natural currents, and tides, and people jumping up and down and partying, it is not so much a perfect circle anymore, but still one of the greatest symbols of freedom of the Biscayne Bay and the people who built it. This very man-made island is dedicated to the man named Henry Flagler, who was a Standard Oil baron from the northlands of the oil industry, where he worked directly with Rockefeller to create Standard Oil into the behemoth of a monopolistic power, in some people's opinion, and great source of wealth. Julia Tuttle and Henry Flagler are orange blossom from Miami in the middle of winter, and that's how he knew that there was a subtropical paradise here that he built a railroad to. Now, the people that built this railroad were in majority consisted of the powerful Bahamian American voting bloc, who numbered in the hundreds to actually file a vote in 1896 for the incorporation of the very city that's known as Miami. Keep that in your mind. And that's why this is Miami history. My family moved here from Mexico City in 1988 to the area of South Miami, Gables. And we're going to go traverse some of those waterways as well. And I'm going to teach you about them in the future and show you how my life on these canals and these waterways was informed with perspective to be able to make this documentary today. I'm out here paddling because I feel like it, and I do what I want. Many million times that I bought a $200 bike or $150 bike and ran it hundreds and fifties and thousands of miles all across the whole Dade County. Ask around about me, real Russian Jew funk. I'm running this county, going all county for this project so that I could show you hydro sliding, on an 8-foot kayak, true kayak in the ocean. If it's a boat, it floats. And if it floats, it's a boat. Why are you running it with the yachts, the cigarettes? These titans of industry, these people who are the largest professional entertainers, the athletes, the conquistadors of today, the scions of government and foreign government, the people with the money to burn, Russian oligarchs and Venezuelan dictators. You don't know who you're going to meet. But I don't need to know because I'm just as prevalent here as they are. Hey, check out this Watson Island Marina right here, what I'm showing you right now. Watson Island Marina. You could park your boat there in these waters of the Biscayne Bay and live there on your houseboat all day long, all year long, all decade long, all half a century, and even a century. You could live right next to A-Rod for nothing. You could live right there. You might see J-Lo going out for a walk. Different people, Sylvester Stallone, Madonna. I mean, all kinds of different people lived over here, rich people with big money. But like I say, the bay is for everybody. And this man-made island can't tell you what to do. You're in charge. So come on out, check it out. It's beautiful. Take a tour yourself. Grab a jet ski. Be careful under the bridges. Don't run it too fast. Be careful. The police do people pull over for speeding over here very often on a daily basis and through the control of their exertion of power to do so. And guess what? Maritime laws are a little way bit different than from the land-loving law, okay? Coast Guard can board your vessel at any time. It's very important that you understand that. You can get a fine for speeding, big money fine. There's energy and there's life. There's all kinds of different people from all around the world coming down here to party and have a good time and enjoy the environment. And that's what the environment is truly for, to be enjoyed, to be given to, and not to be overly taken from. We gotta be a positive force on the ecosystem. Come down here and use our little self-propelled mode of transportation. You don't need a power boat. Come on out here, rent something, rent a jet ski, rent a Rave Runner. But like I tell you, be careful because the police are out here in a big way. Miami Beach cops, Coast Guard cops, even other levels of federal agents. The FWC, they have the highest level of authority of any enforcement agency in the whole state of Florida, are the FWC. They can pull you over on the water. They can pull you over on the land. Remember that, all right? Be kind. Be kind to the environment. Hold up, move slow. If you see an animal, let it go. If you see a manatee, stop and enjoy. Don't destroy. Be kind. Let it live its life. You could have a fish on a line. Yeah, fishing is fun. Go kill a lionfish. They're an invasive species. I'm just coming here to tell you today, check it out. You won't forget it. You will create a memory which will carry you like a current will carry you through the ocean. These waters, through time immemorial, over years, decades, centuries, millennia, hundreds of thousands, and even millions of years, have continued to shape popular consciousness, the ideologies of the people of Earth, and everything else that goes into creating a system of culture, education, and entertainment for us to enjoy. This is where people come to partying. And partying is important because it's fun. What is the sound of thunder other than the low-frequency rumble of bass created by nature itself? What is the sound of thunder other than the low-frequency rumble of bass created by nature itself? Let us quote the great warrior philosopher Mike Tyson. The style of nature is impetuous. So come on down here and party. It's not over here in the Bermuda Triangle. You're not going to get caught up, but if you do, you could die. People die here every day. People live here every day. This is an adventure place. This is a place for adventure people. If you don't like adventure, get out. You're not going to be able to handle it. You can step in blind, but you might wake up deaf at death's door. When the water floods your shore, when your consciousness is deprived of oxygen, you're underwater then. But guess what? Underwater is the one place that the evil eye can't reach. It's the ultimate peace and the ultimate tranquility.